Hello and welcome. It's 10 a.m. on Tuesday, the 7th of October. You're tuned into our mid-morning newscast here on Arirang TV. It's great that you could join us. I'm Mark Broome. Let's take a look at what's making the headlines. Now, the National Assembly's inspection of government agencies kicks off today. Lawmakers are expected to focus on the government's response to the Sewol-ho ferry sinking and plans to raise taxes on cigarettes. Samsung Electronics says its operating profit likely fell almost 60% in the third quarter to $3.8 billion. Plus, a nurse in Spain becomes the first person to contract Ebola outside of West Africa in the latest epidemic. But our top story this morning is right here in Korea, and the National Assembly has begun its annual parliamentary hearings on this Tuesday. Over the next 3 weeks or so, standing committees will call in officials from close to 700 government offices to question them on their spending and the implementation of policies. The ruling party wants to veer away from political bickering, but that looks to be wishful thinking, as the main opposition has vowed to make the highly contentious Sewol-ho ferry disaster their top priority during these inspections. Lawmakers will also question officials over plans to very heavily raise taxes on cigarettes. Last month, the government proposed a tax hike that would nearly double cigarette prices. Some lawmakers believe the proposed tax hike is a way to empty the pockets of working-class people and smokers. Korea's Supreme Prosecutor's Office has announced some findings from its own probe into April's Sewol-ho ferry sinking, which killed more than 300 people, including a great many high school students. Our Ji Myung-gil has more on the web of corruption and incompetence revealed by this investigation.
After a months-long investigation into April's Sewol-ho ferry disaster, the prosecution said 154 people, including the captain, crew, government and shipping officials, have so far been indicted on various charges related to the accident. The state's prosecutor has concluded the main causes of the accident were illegal modifications and overloading of the vessel, while the Korea Coast Guard's poor initial response led to a higher death toll.
Patrol Boat 123 was instructed to guide the Sewol-ho ferry passengers to safely abandon the ship, but failed to take even their basic duties.
Obstruction charges followed as members of the Coast Guard were found to have tampered with a logbook to make it look as though they had instructed passengers to abandon ship and that its rescuers entered the sinking ferry when in fact they had not. Inefficient communication between the ferry's crew and Jindo Island's Vessel Traffic Service Center also played a role in failed rescue efforts. 12 traffic controllers also neglected their duties and failed to follow proper procedures in responding to distress calls. Poor steering by the helmsman also contributed to the maritime disaster. However, the main opposition New Politics Alliance for Democracy criticized the probe results, saying the findings failed to assess the presidential office and the government's poor initial response. The opposition party emphasized the need to quickly enact the Sewol-ho ferry bill and authorize the independent fact-finding committee to investigate and fully uncover the truth behind April's ferry sinking. Ji Myung-gil, Arirang News.
Now, President Park Geun-hye is calling for high-level inter-Korean talks to be held not on a one-off basis, but on a regular schedule. Her remarks came after the two Koreas agreed last weekend to hold one meeting in the next few weeks. But what are the chances for additional ongoing dialogue? Our Hwang Sang-hee reports on the prospects.
As the two Koreas prepare for a fresh round of high-level talks, President Park Geun-hye on Monday called on the need for a regular inter-Korean dialogue.
특히 이번 고위급 접촉이 단발성 대화에 그치지 않고 남북 대화의 정례화를 이루어 평화 통일의 길을 닦을 수 있도록 노력해야 할 것입니다.
Sending a high-level delegation to Seoul on Saturday, Pyongyang said it was ready to hold a second round of high-level talks with Seoul sometime later this month or in early November. South Korea said reuniting families separated by the Korean War will be on top of the agenda.
The issue of separated families certainly needs to be brought to the table by us. We are hoping to discuss a wide range of issues that are of interest to South and North Korea.
The surprise one-day visit has raised hopes of a new dynamic in inter-Korean ties. In Seoul for talks with senior officials and Foreign Minister Yoon Byung-se, U.S. Assistant Secretary of State Daniel Russell extended Washington's support on the latest developments.
I made clear that, as is a consistent element of U.S. policy, the U.S. supports the efforts on the part of the ROK to promote and enhance inter-Korean relations.
But President Park noted that inter-Korean ties have sometimes worsened following dialogue, implying it may be too early to judge North Korea's intentions. Hwang Sang-hee, Arirang News.
Now, Japan's foreign minister says he will consider ordering the removal of a comment on one of his ministry's websites that says the wartime sexual enslavement of Korean women was a clear violation of human rights and dignity. Speaking in Parliament on Monday, Fumio Kishida said that his ministry will soon decide whether to delete it or add extra commentary to it. The comment is shown on a website for the Asian Women's Fund, which is run by the Japanese Foreign Ministry. The fund received private donations for the female victims from 1995 to 2007. The minister was responding to a question by an opposition lawmaker who said he didn't believe that his country, Japan, forced women to serve at military brothels during the Second World War. Now, this year's Nobel Prize in Medicine has been awarded to 3 scientists who discovered how our brains help us navigate through our surroundings. The award is shared by British-American neuroscientist John O'Keefe of University College London and Norwegians May-Britt Moser of the Centre of Neural Computation in Trondheim and Edvard Moser of the Kavli Institute for Systems Neuroscience in the same Norwegian city. A ceremony was held on Monday in Stockholm to award them their $1.2 million in prize money. The Nobel Committee said they had worked out how our brains know where we are in space, how we store that information, and how we can find our way from one place to another. The Nobel Prize in Physics will be announced later on this Tuesday.
Said that a team of South Korea.
Get connected to Korea and the world. Join us every weekday for the latest developments out of Korea, Asia, and beyond. On air, on your mobile, and online, we lead the way every day. Arirang News.
To try and resolve the crisis in Ukraine, the European Union also offers $15 billion. Now, the world's largest smartphone maker, Samsung Electronics, is likely to post far from impressive earnings for the July to September period. In a guidance released ahead of final third-quarter figures that are due out around the end of this month, the Korean conglomerate says operating profits dropped to $3.8 billion in the third quarter of this year. That's the lowest level in 3 years and a near 60% drop from the same period last year. Samsung also said it'll likely post third-quarter sales of $44 billion, which is more than a 20% drop from the same period last year. Now, Korea's conglomerates, including Samsung Electronics, have promised the Commerce Ministry here in Seoul that they will move ahead with investment plans worth tens of billions of dollars through the end of next year. The government, of course, welcomed this move and says it will do all it can to foster a more business-friendly environment here in Korea. Our Kim Ji-yeon reports.
Cooperation between the Korean government and the country's conglomerates seemed to go hand in hand during hard economic times. In a gathering hosted by the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Energy, tech giant Samsung Electronics and 15 other companies agreed to make investments worth around $26.6 billion in total. This includes new investment projects slated for next year, but not the expenses for annual maintenance and development projects. Among the investment plans are Samsung's semiconductor plant line at the Pyeongtaek Industrial Complex in Gyeonggi-do Province, worth $14.6 billion. Samsung officials emphasize the importance of fostering a business-friendly environment for quick completion of the plant, which is currently slated for 2017. In response, Trade Minister Yoon Sang-jik says the government will facilitate a one-on-one consultation system to remove obstacles and help companies carry out their investment plans on schedule. In regard to the unfavorable currency conditions surrounding Japan's weakening yen, which is threatening Korean exporters, the minister says domestic companies should turn the situation into an opportunity to boost their facilities' investments. He adds that businesses should take full advantage of the currency exchange rates to increase investments, especially when it comes to machinery and plant assets from Japan, since the weakening yen makes it relatively cheaper to import Japanese products. Kim Jeon, Arirang News.
Now, as the market becomes ever more cutthroat, with stores seemingly opening on almost every corner in Korea these days, convenience stores are turning to novel ways to attract and, more importantly, some would say, keep customers by offering high-tech devices and rather unconventional services on top of their usual fare of soft drinks and snacks. Our Kim Min-ji reports.
Convenience stores in Korea are pushing to become more convenient than ever, evolving into so-called living stores that cater to the everyday needs of consumers. The number of convenience stores is more than doubled from just 4 years ago. This translates into roughly one convenience store per 2,000 people, and it's growing to become a $12 billion industry. But with quantitative growth at its peak, convenience stores are now seeking new sources of profit by offering a new range of products and customizing stores to meet the individual needs of customers.
7-Eleven offers diverse products depending on store locations. In this store, we sell flowers and have imported a French underwear brand. We're also planning to offer more products that meet the needs of single-person households.
Non-food products now make up about 17% of 7-Eleven sales, and the plan is to boost that figure to 20% next year. GS25, another popular convenience store, is offering a lineup of tech goods from cell phones and televisions to water purifiers. And some take it to another level by offering space to enjoy a cup of coffee or hold meetings.
I didn't know these rooms existed. I hope to use one in the future with my friends when I do team assignments.
Customers can reserve these rooms at just $1 per hour, along with free Wi-Fi access, printing facilities, and laptop rentals.
We created this space with the purpose of attracting more customers by offering convenience. People visit our store not just to buy food, but to spend time.
By shifting focus from their traditional money makers like instant foods towards new goods and services, convenience stores are striving to be more than just a quick stop shop. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
Time now for a look through the international headlines we're following on this Tuesday morning. For that, we turn to Eunice Kim, standing by at the news centre. Hello there, Eunice.
Hello, Mark.
So the Ebola virus has now reached Europe, with an infection reported in Spain.
That's right. A nurse's assistant who had treated an infected priest flown in from Sierra Leone received that diagnosis, marking a first infection outside of West Africa. This as the WHO has released new warnings on how the hemorrhagic virus can be spread. Our Shin Se-min has the story.
A Spain nurse has tested positive for Ebola, becoming the first person to contract the virus outside of West Africa during this epidemic. Spain's health minister confirmed Monday that a nurse described as a sanitary technician had treated 2 Ebola patients in Madrid who later died. Experts believe the nurse contracted the virus from a priest she had treated. She has been transferred to Madrid's Carlos III hospital for treatment. Following the announcement, 30 healthcare workers who came into contact with the nurse will now have to remain under observation for 3 weeks. In the United States, the Obama administration says it's working on bolstering its national defenses against Ebola, starting with intensified screening of air passengers.
We're also going to be working on protocols to do additional passenger screening, both at the source and here in the United States. All of these things make me confident that here in the United States, at least, the chances of an outbreak of an epidemic here are extraordinarily low.
The administration says a travel ban from West Africa is not an option at the moment, but the president stressed that officials were working on identifying people who might have contracted the virus. So far, 6 people have been treated for Ebola in the United States. One man developed symptoms in the U.S. a week or so after coming into contact with an infected person in Liberia. Looking to raise global awareness, the World Health Organization announced Monday that although Ebola is not an airborne virus like flu, it can be detected in and pass through breast milk, urine, and semen. In particular, the WHO stressed the virus can persist in semen for at least 70 days. The health organization had earlier said the virus can be transmitted through direct contact with the bodily fluids of an infected person, including blood, sweat, and saliva. Shin Se-min, Arirang News.
Formal dialogue between Hong Kong's pro-democracy activists and government officials could begin as early as this week, as the crowds of protesters that had been clogging the territory's streets significantly recede. A second round of preparatory talks were held by representatives of both sides last night, and according to a report by Bloomberg, they reached 3 principles on future negotiations. 1, that there would be several rounds of talks. 2, that both sides will be held on equal footing. And 3, with those results of the talks to be confirmed and implemented by the government. This as student protesters early Monday lifted a blockade to government offices. Schools and businesses were also reopened yesterday. Come evening, more than 1,000 protesters gathered in 3 locations to continue their call for universal suffrage in Hong Kong's chief executive election in 2017. The day came and went without incident, despite a warning by Hong Kong's leader that police force could be used to get the city back in order. The U.S. Supreme Court has allowed the expansion of same-sex marriage in America by not ruling on appeals by 5 states seeking to uphold their bans. The justices let stand lower court rulings that had struck down gay marriage bans in Wisconsin, Indiana, Oklahoma, Utah, and Virginia. While the justices did not offer an explanation for their inaction, it is being viewed as a statement that the Supreme Court does not think it's wrong to allow same-sex couples to marry. The move would clear the way for gay marriage to be legal in 30 states, which is up from 19 plus the District of Columbia. Challenges are pending in the remaining 20 states. And Typhoon Phanfone is well into the Pacific Ocean, but not before slamming parts of Japan and killing at least 1 person. 3 U.S. airmen were washed out to sea in Okinawa. At least 1 was confirmed killed, while the others remain missing. More than 2 million people were advised to evacuate after the powerful storm made landfall on Monday morning in central Japan with wind speeds of 180 kilometers per hour. Thousands of households lost power for a time. 600 flights were canceled at Tokyo's Haneda Airport as bullet trains were halted between Tokyo and Osaka. The typhoon also forced a suspension of search efforts on Mount Ontake on fears of mudslides.
And a good Tuesday morning to you all as we kick things off with a rather disappointing news. Now, with South Korea hosting the 61st World Military Pentathlon Championship on Wednesday, North Korea will not be participating according to the organizers. Now, North Korea, who initially stated that they will send a 15-member delegation, including 10 athletes, will withdraw from the event due to injuries to some of their athletes. Now, organizers stated that the pentathlon is a team event and injuries suffered by even 1 athlete could affect the whole result. The event, which will take part in southeastern city of Yeongcheon, will host 328 soldiers from 35 nations who will compete in rifle shooting, obstacle run, 50-meter obstacle swimming, throwing, and cross-country for 9 days. And moving on to the South Korean national football team this time, as the team will open camp today in preparations for the upcoming friendly matches at home. And the training camp will also mark Uli Stilleke's debut as the manager for the South Korean national team, as he's set to work with a full squad for the first time since being hired last month. The national team, who's currently ranked 63rd in the FIFA rankings, hope to bounce back as manager Stilleke looks forward to utilizing the many options, including 3 Asian Games gold medalists in Kim Seung-dae, Kim Seung-gyu, and Park Ju-ho. Meanwhile, the team is set to face off against Paraguay on Friday. And shifting over to domestic basketball, where the 2014-2015 KBL Media Day kicked off the new season of basketball here in the nation. And with the representative players and coaches from the 10 KBL teams coming together on Monday afternoon, no one was sure who the clear favorite is this season. But with Ulsan Mobis Phoebus winning back-to-back championships, manager Yoo Jae-hak hopes to make it a three-peat this season. Meanwhile, coaches were against the idea of having both foreign players play at the same time when asked about a possible rule change allowing it to happen. And of course, the season officially tips off on Saturday with 4 games followed by 5 games on Sunday. And as the 2014 KBO season is quickly approaching its postseason, the SK Wyverns continue to chase the 4th place spot with the 11-1 victory over the Hanwha Eagles, with the Doosan Bears beating the Samsung Lions 5-1 thanks to a 4-run 11th inning. Meanwhile, let's take a look at the NC Dinos take on the LG Twins. Of course, going into the game here, the LG Twins trying to hold on to their 4th place spot, while the NC Dinos have already clinched their playoff berth. But LG Twins' Shin Jung-lak throwing a masterpiece, throwing a no-hitter until he's taken out after 7 1/3 innings. Now fast forward to the top of the 9th inning, game tied 0-0. NC's Park Min-ho with 2 men out. Taps one in front of the catcher, Park Young-soo injured on the play, but that's ruled an error. And the no-hitter's alive. Bottom 9th inning here, man on first and second, the captain Lee Jin-young, the game winner. And that means a combined no-hitter, as 3 LG pitchers combined for a no-hitter for the first time in history, leading to a 1-0 LG victory. And staying with baseball, but over to the 2014 MLB playoffs, where 2 unlikely teams will face off against each other in the American League Championship Series, with the Baltimore Orioles sweeping the Detroit Tigers in 3 games and the Kansas City Royals also sweeping the LA Angels in 3 games. The 2 unlikely teams in the American League will square off in the Championship Series. Now, for the Royals, it's their first trip to the ALCS since 1985, while the Orioles make their first trip since 1997. And that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day, and see you guys again for your sports needs.
Good morning. Seorak Mountain, Jungcheongbong saw the first frost of the season this morning, with lows dipping down to below freezing mark. Also, the rest of the country woke up to a quite chilly morning today. But the skies have been crystal clear. Mostly sunny skies are expected throughout the day across the nation, and daily highs are expected to be similar to a tad higher than yesterday. So let's take a closer look at the readings for today. Now, daytime high in Seoul will rise to 22, while Daegu and Busan will peak at 23, while Gwangju rises to 24 this afternoon. Now, for other regions, it looks like Jeju Island and Daejeon should see highs of 22 and 23 respectively, while Dokdo peaks at 19. And it seems like we'll have chilly morning lows till the end of the week, but it seems like daytime highs will be a tad milder than what we've been having these days. But be aware of big temperature difference between lows and highs and dress accordingly to avoid catching a cold. Well, that's all for Korea, and here's the international weather for viewers around the world.
Well, that's going to do it from us for now. Korea Today is coming up at the top of the hour. Have a great day or night wherever you're watching us, and thanks ever so much for watching. Goodbye.